Hi everyone, this is Donny Lowy from Closeout Hope you're doing well. Today I'd like to give you ideas on how you can find clothing at below wholesale prices in New York. So option number one, which is pretty well known, is to go to the New York Fashion District, which is located approximately between 29th Street and 37th Street, between Broadway and 9th Avenue. Now, the New York Fashion District isn't as encompassing as it used to be, but you'll still find a lot of wholesalers either on the street level, and you'll also find them in the buildings themselves. So I would suggest that you go online. There are free directories that will give you a list of all the different wholesalers that are in the fashion district. If you send me an email, I'd be happy to point you in the right way. You could give me a call. My number is on my website. It's closeoutexplosion.com. Now, you can set up appointments with these wholesalers. Some of them are looking to sell in large quantities to department stores and to retail stores that have chains stores, and some of them are happy to sell to individual retailers, to flea market vendors, to online sellers. You know, it also depends on how you present yourself. If you're a business that has started recently, but they see that you're serious and that you have a lot of potential to grow your business, even if they ordinarily don't deal with a single store operator, they might be happy to do business with you. Now, when you do get to the New York Fashion District, there are going to be wholesalers that range from showrooms owned by the brands themselves, where you'd have to set up an account with the brand, whether it's Calvin Klein or it's Tahari. And then you're going to have showrooms that specialize in buying brand name clothing from the brands, and it's easier to deal with them, but of course, it's one step in the chain removed from the brand, so you can pay a higher price than if you deal with the brand directly. The advantage to dealing with them is that they usually don't have any minimums, and they're specializing in buying overstock and excess production, so they are able to sell it at either substantially below the wholesale price or the wholesale price. Now, whether you pay them the wholesale price or you pay it below the wholesale price, it's still a good option, because many times you're not going to be able to even buy it directly at the wholesale price from the brand, because they might be looking to only sell to large and established retailers as opposed to, a mom and pop shop store or to a flea market vendor. So you could go to a showroom that, let's say, buys overstock from Calvin Klein, and they'll be happy to sell to you whether you're buying 10 or 20 pieces or 1,000 pieces. Then you also have jobbers. They'll have an office in the New York Fashion District, and they'll have samples of the different items that they carry. They might have their actual merchandise in a warehouse. The warehouse might be located in New Jersey or might be located in New York, but you go to their office, you see what they have available, you place an order with them, and then they'll supply you with the merchandise. Many times they'll let you go to their actual warehouses so you can make your own selection. That brings me to the next point. Some of these jobbers are not really jobbers, they're actually closeout brokers. So they're in the middle between the owner of the merchandise and the actual merchandise. So let's say my business is located in Brooklyn, New York, and I get overstock from department stores, from brands that sell their excess merchandise, from stores that go out of business, and I'll have my regular wholesale and retail customers, but I'll also have customers of mine who are brokers, and they're selling my merchandise on my behalf. Now, when you can, it's always better to deal directly with the source, because this way you'll get the lowest possible price. But often either you cannot find the source, you wouldn't know where to find the source, or the source isn't looking to deal with individual buyers, and that's why they'll use a closeout broker to actually fill orders. In my case, anyone is welcome to come to the warehouse. There is no minimum in the warehouse. You can buy any quantity you want. Now, if you want to know if you're dealing with a jobber or a closeout broker, ask the seller if you can go to his actual warehouse and see the merchandise yourself. If he's reluctant to do it or he just doesn't let you do it, then chances are he or she's a closeout broker and not a jobber or the actual owner of the merchandise. Now, there are legitimate reasons why you might not be able to go to their warehouse. It could be for insurance reasons. Maybe the warehouse is set up in a way where people can't open boxes and take stuff out. They might use a public storage facility that fulfills the order for them. So let's say you place an order for 1,000 dresses. The facility will open up the boxes, take out 1,000 dresses, pack the order, and then ship it out to you. So there's definitely, there are legitimate reasons why you might not be able to go directly to the warehouse where the merchandise is stored. Okay, then another thing in New York which is very popular, there are auctions, whether it's a store going out of business, whether it's a wholesaler looking to sell out his excess merchandise from a previous season. So he'll just run an auction, sell the merchandise at rock bottom prices, and just push the merchandise out. to deal, with those auctioneers can be challenging. You do need to know what it is you're doing. The auctions are very fast-paced. Sometimes you have a relatively short period of time to inspect the merchandise, so I only recommend auctions for people who are very experienced in being able to tell right away what kind of merchandise you're looking for. And with auction merchandise, you might not be able to inspect the entire lot. I mean, they'll allow you to do it, but it might not be practical. They might have 30 boxes of socks, and you can only open up 1 or 2 boxes. So you don't know the condition of all the merchandise there. So if you are going to go to auctions, I would maybe go the first or second time, not as a buyer, but just to see how it works. And another challenge with auctions is that the prices get pushed up very fast because people get excited. You have a mixture there of novice buyers and very experienced buyers, and the auctioneers will give a preference usually to the buyers who they have a relationship with. On the other hand, if you come in there and there aren't that many bidders for some reason, maybe the weather wasn't that good, or maybe there are a lot of bidders there, but there's a lot of merchandise which they're overlooking because they don't know what to do with it, and you do know who to sell it to, then you could get some really good deals. I myself do buy merchandise at auctions. I like to go to auctions when I can buy a very large quantity of merchandise. That way I can get a low price per unit and sell it to my customers at a price which is substantially below the regular wholesale price. So if you're not up to the fast-paced pressure of an auction and you don't want to make a mistake, I've seen many people overbid, so you can always deal with wholesalers who are buying at the auctions. There's also, what you can also do is you can go to wholesalers such as myself. You could go to the showrooms in the city. You can make offers on merchandise. Don't feel bound by the price that they give you. Now, many times they will be firm on a price, because if they have a lot of demand for a certain item, then they're not motivated to have to give you that item at a lower price. For instance, I have a very big demand for brand name dresses and brand name suits. The brand name suits usually sell out within a week of my receiving them. So I wouldn't give discounts for those suits unless the customer can buy a very large quantity. Then I might be tempted to, just because I'll sell those suits out and then I'll look to buy the next shipment of suits. Now, another opportunity to get clothing at below wholesale prices is to go to wholesalers like myself, as I mentioned, and ask them to see any clothing which they can sell. Now, many times you're going to have to get them to focus on it because they might not remember that they have clothing that hasn't been sold. The clothing might be sitting behind a rack in 4 or 5 boxes which they haven't looked at in months. But let them know, or tell them, look, is there anything, maybe you have some merchandise that you were originally going to sell, there was a canceled order, maybe there's merchandise that you just simply decided not to sell because you couldn't find customers for it, and you're willing to take a chance on it. Of course, only take a chance on it if it is merchandise that you believe you can sell, or if you're buying it at such a low price that you can even sell it yourself at a very discounted price. And this way you excite the customer to buy it. The customer might buy it as an impulse buy. Imagine you get a really nice blouse, which is, the color's a little off, but you could sell it at $2 and still make a profit. And your customer might say, you know what, she needs a blouse for a day when she's going to be at the park. It might get dirty, and she's going to be willing to take a chance and just buy it for $2, just to have an extra blouse. Maybe it's a blouse she'll use when she'll go to a gym. So it doesn't have to be very fashionable if she buys it at a low price. In other words, if you see clothing which might not be so fashionable or might not be the latest up-to-date clothing, but you can buy it at a really low price that will allow you to sell it to your customers at a very low price, where they're buying it based on impulse, or they're buying it just to have some extra clothing around the house, then you should consider it also. And what I definitely recommend is that you should focus on brand name clothing. There are wholesalers like myself that can give you that brand name clothing at a below wholesale price. Brand name clothing, at least in my warehouse, outsells private label and definitely generic clothing, probably 10 times to 1. So I definitely recommend that you focus on that clothing. Even if you're paying a higher price, then you could pay for the private label clothing. Alright, thank you very much. If you have any questions, give me a call, send me an email. My website is closeoutexplosion.com. Have a great day.